Welcome to the Wizarding Wireless Network podcast with me, AJ.
And me, Will.
Together we will be bringing you our no-holds-barred thoughts, opinions and detailed analysis on all things Wizarding World. So with that in mind, grab yourself a glass of fire whiskey and settle into this week's episode of the WWN. My wrist just clicked and it sounded really arthritic. Oh my god.
Welcome back to the Wizarding Wireless Network with your hosts AJ and Will, streaming to you on all of your favourite podcast providers and on YouTube. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about Chapter 11 and we are talking about Quidditch.
Quidditch, mount your brooms, let's go! Right, iconic chapter in this book. It is one of my absolute favourites.
When is it not?
Well, I know, I'm basic. The brooms have been mounted, the balls have been released, and we are playing the game. But prior to that, we are back at the beginning. We are entering November at Hogwarts. It is getting cold, it is getting moody. The only thing missing is a Dementor, but that's another 2 books away.
Yeah, hold your horses.
Yeah, no, legit. So as it stands at the moment, Will, what is your thought?
So I agree. I think actually it's another case of world building. We're suddenly introduced to the sport that everyone is talking about, Quidditch, and it's just one of those things that just adds to the magicalness of the Wizarding world itself. The fact that even the sports, it's not like a mundane sport. This is something that is dangerous. It's flying broomsticks. There's something magical even about a team sport.
It's fabulous.
What about you?
Oh no, I mean, I love it. Just put this into every episode. I love it.
Literally, I just don't even have to record it. I'll just have you as a repeated recording.
I know, legit. It'd save you a lot of time. Anyway, so talking about Quidditch, are you on the Hogwarts Quidditch team?
I get this question a few times, and my answer always changes. It goes from, yeah, absolutely, to, no, I'm quite happy spectating. I think right now I'm be quite happy spectating.
Okay, fair enough, because it is rather a dangerous sport.
It is, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't know which post to play, whether or not to, because everyone would want to answer and say, yeah, I'd be a seeker, because like everyone wants to be a seeker. But actually, I don't know what position I'd end up wanting to actually play, given the option.
I can see you being a keeper.
I can see that. See that. My hand-eye coordination maybe wouldn't fare so well, but I could see that.
Yeah, fair enough. Coming back to the chapter at hand, so as it stands at the moment, Harry is preparing for his first Quidditch match between Gryffindor and Slytherin. The adrenaline is pumping, and what does he get to prepare himself? Of course, Hermione gets him a book from the library. Quidditch.
Of course.
Yep, Quidditch Throughout the Ages, which, as it says, turned out to be a very interesting read. Now, have you read that?
I have not. It's one of the few smaller books that I have yet to read.
Do you know, I think I must have bought this years ago. Well, I say years ago, probably maybe 5 years ago when I initially moved down to London. I went to Waterstones and they had a book, like a series of 3 books. You could get The Tales of Beedle the Bard, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and Quidditch Throughout the Ages. And I remember reading the 3 of those in rather quick succession. I loved Quidditch Throughout the Ages. It was so interesting. There are so many different Quidditch teams, the history of the sport. Because prior to the Golden Snitch, you had the Golden Snidget, which for those of us who have played Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, very endangered species for all those reasons.
Yeah, legit. But I would highly recommend that you do get it and have a little read.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list to get, because I have got the other 2, but I got them as they released rather than the 3 as a set.
Well, next time you're up at mine, you can have a look through it.
Yeah, I'll have a flick through.
Should you require.
So yeah, the introduction to this chapter then, we first come out of the minefield that has been Halloween, and suddenly we get this first look at the trio all kind of gluing themselves together, and it's nicely summed up with Harry being stressed out about Quidditch, Ron doesn't have a clue, and Hermione helping both of them, but not giving them the answers. She still wants them to learn.
Well, as a good friend, she absolutely should. I stand by that.
She makes a very good coach.
She really does. She really does. Now, interestingly enough, there is a section in this chapter that was missed completely from the movies. And when Harry does have Quidditch throughout the ages, he, Ron and Hermione are standing around one of the little blue flames that Hermione had conjured, which I really did wish we had seen in the movies. I wish they had translated that over. But there was another section in this whereby Professor Snape does find the three of them huddled around reading through the book. Snape then says books are not allowed to be taken out of the library, and he takes points off of Gryffindor for that. So, as he does, just looking for an excuse. But Harry then, later on, he goes to the staff room to try and get the book back. And he opens the staff room door and finds... I keep calling him Professor Filch. He may as well be a professor, actually. Mr. Filch looking at Professor Snape's bloody knee. Wonder what's happening there. But this also occurred to me. The teacher staff room is a set that we never seen in the movies, which I feel we were robbed of.
That's a really good point. No, in any of the films.
We didn't see it in any of them whatsoever, and also it would have been nice to have Professor Binns' origin story told from that point of view.
That is the chair where Professor Binns did die.
And he comes back every night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely one of the scenes that I think they amalgamated quite a lot into and fitted into other scenes to keep the pacing up. But I mean, personally, I don't think it's such a short section of the book. I don't necessarily think they should have taken it out, amalgamated it, because it's such a short scene in the first place. Why not just keep it in?
Well, exactly. That's the thing. Yeah.
And all we got in the end was the glance at the leg in the bathroom itself, and then Harry saying the most awkward line in Philosopher's Stone, going, "That explains the blood."
Yeah.
Oh, like, seriously. I don't know. I think having this scene over what we got in the films would have made, again, more sense.
It would have made a much bigger impact, I think.
Yeah, and I think actually it sets up Snape as quite a shifty character. If he's going into the staff room and getting like the caretaker, not like Madame Pomfrey or someone else to look at it, he's going like quite undercover to get this sorted. It just adds to the shiftiness of his character.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing like backdoor dodgy dealings to try and get this sorted.
Exactly. What else is Filch dealing?
Well, who can say? Who can say?
Bit of shoe polish here and there. And then we're on to Quidditch.
Yeah, basically. God, it's a very quick chapter.
Literally, like, honestly, like, this is such a short chapter overall. I seriously can't believe they took the majority of this chapter out. I think, to be fair, actually, they extended the Quidditch scene, which I'm kind of glad they did.
Right, and I will say one thing. That Quidditch scene is one of my absolute favourites in the whole franchise. The orchestration for that scene, John Williams did a phenomenal job at that.
Like you said, driving on a slip road.
Oh, fab, absolutely. I absolutely love it. And I love as well about that whole scene coming on to... so coming now onto the actual Quidditch match. The book itself, you can only imagine it to a certain extent. I listened to the audiobook of this version and Stephen Fry narrated it phenomenally. But how this man did not take a breath in between each sentence baffled me, because I was hooked on every word.
He sounds like literally like a sports commentator.
He does, and he did it so well. I absolutely loved it. But that translated, I think, so well over into the movies. But that whole scene itself was beautiful, because with the colouring of the screen, the acting, the use of CGI, back in the day. There must have been CGI used. The only thing I will say I wish they had put into it a little bit more was Sassy Lee Jordan.
Yes, the commentary.
Yeah, the commentary in the book is phenomenal, and it's the same pretty much every time that he does commentate a Quidditch match. But it got to the point where, in this, Professor McGonagall was like, you need to stop. Like,
I think that happens in every single Quidditch match.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Honestly, like Sassy Lee Jordan, like in the films, would have been perfect. But I mean, they did do a phenomenal job of actually translating it from books to film, because actually, like you said, the books don't really give you a lot to go on in terms of visualization of what this would actually look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all we get is that there's essentially like a football field, but with hoops at either end. It doesn't give you any description of what the stand looks like, other than it's a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I don't think it even gives you a stadium. I think in my head, what I've got is like a kind of town football club, like those little like raised stands with the flip down seats.
Yeah, like a bleacher type thing.
Yeah, literally. All I've got in my head is that's where the book was kind of going with the description, whereas what we got in the film is so much more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think actually looking at kind of what they said in kind of behind the scenes wise of how they then made the Quidditch pitch look and how they then came up with that concept is such, like, it's a genius concept altogether.
Mm.
The idea of, obviously, all the players are on broomsticks, so obviously they're going to be above ground. It's going to be taking up high. So obviously the stands need to be high up to match. But the idea of then having these two elevations, so you've got your more expensive seats at the top and like your ground level seats at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of actually then having the towers, just to have the visualization of stadiums flying past, giving the sense of speed in the background, was just such a good idea.
Yeah, it was absolutely genius. What I will say is, though, for the students who actually did end up sitting down on the ground level, they got the best view in the whole match because Harry caught the snitch there.
Exactly, like they didn't even have to have binoculars, they were there.
Mm.
Now, one of the things that we then get in the books that is completely missing, and I still love this description of Dean, where it's Dean, the West Ham fan.
Yeah.
Like that's just Dean's description throughout the books. It's like, he's the West Ham fan. And for everyone who then doesn't realise, so overseas listeners, West Ham is then a football club and what would be classed as like a muggle sport over in the UK. So I do find that quite funny, actually, that's how he's described in the books. Yeah.
There's also a really nice thing in this chapter which I really do enjoy, and it's the fact that they've then got this banner. Yes. And it says Potter for President, and I'm just reading this here, the Minalima illustration of it, and it's just heartwarming. It is. I'll send you a picture of it and you can put it in at the bottom. But it's absolutely so nice.
And just the description of it, it just highlights Hermione's talent even more.
Because it's very intricate magic that she's working on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely like magic beyond where she should be. Again, just highlighting the level at which she's working to already.
Yeah, for sure.
With the rest of the crew kind of like celebrating and cheering Harry on, we suddenly end up with Harry being in grave peril once again.
Quelle surprise.
So AJ, take us away. What happens?
What happens? Well, let me tell you what happens. So all of a sudden, Harry's broomstick is jiving and jolting. It's going everywhere. Harry tries to take command of the broomstick, but it is not working. He cannot control this broomstick. Then, all of a sudden, he nearly falls off.
What could be happening, AJ?
What could be happening? Well, in there, infinite wisdom, Ron and Hermione have decided that it was Professor Snape who was actually causing Harry to jolt and jive on the broomstick, causing him to nearly fall off.
Of course, because
Yes.
who else is causing problems?
Exactly. It's Snape. He's jinxing the broom. So what do you think they did, Will?
Well, obviously they killed Snape. They just shot him across the pitch.
Pretty much. Directed by Chris Columbus, Hedwig Screenplays. End of movie.
No, they make a hasty sprint over to set Snape's cape alight.
They certainly do. Now, interestingly enough, in the book, Hermione casts the Bluebell Flames, Lacarnum Inflammari, onto Snape's cloak. It takes a while for him to realise that he's actually on fire. And then, as the panic ensues, she scoops the flames up and takes them away with her.
Is it the Bluebell Flame?
Well, this is the thing. I'm pretty sure it is.
Because the thing is, I don't think it is. I think... Oh, bright blue flame shot from her... Pulled her wand and whispered a few well-chosen words. Bright blue flames shot from her wand to the hem of Snape's robes.
Oh, you got it wrong.
Oh.
Oh, it's not easy, is it?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it doesn't say about it being bluebell flames.
Well, they say bright blue flames.
It just says bright blue flames.
That's bluebell flames.
Obviously, we don't actually get a verbalization of the spell itself. It just says that she whispers a few well-chosen words. Now, the interesting thing with, obviously, a lot of the Philosopher's Stone book is we don't actually get any verbal spells. Besides, really, Wingardium Leviosa, we don't actually get any spells.
I'm trying to think what else there is. Get Lumos Solem.
Again, do we actually get that in the book?
Not in the book, I don't know.
Because it's the thing, we get a few in the film, but I don't think we actually get them in the books themselves. Now, I'm just having a quick look. She whipped out her wand, waved it, muttered something, and sent a jet of the same bluebell flames she had just used on Snape at the plant.
Ah!
So yeah, again, we don't actually get really any spells within the Philosopher's Stone. We get them in the films, but we don't get them in the books. The only spell we actually get is Wingardium Leviosa. Mm-hmm. And I think it's then quite interesting then when we see a lot of the spells said in the films, they are very kind of wordy spells.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously, and this is where that kind of continuity breaks down a little bit within the films. You have Le Carmen Inflammarad as a flame spell in the first film, and it then swiftly changes to Incendio in the later films.
Mm-hmm. But saying that, technically Lacarnum Inflammari is... Well, yeah, that change would be to Incendio, but then you've got Lumos Solem, which is a completely different one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the wiki has kind of like tried to kind of push this to one side and say, well, Lumos Solem is like sunlight, whereas Lumos is more of a light show rather than like daylight itself.
Interesting.
It is, yeah. So I kind of think they've tried to explain it away rather than just acknowledge the fact that it's just a continuity thing.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so with Snape's hem firmly ablaze, Harry is now able to regain control of his broom. However, in that interim, Marcus Flint had seized the quaffle and scored 5 times without anyone noticing. However, when it comes down to it, Gryffindor do eventually win the Quidditch match, with Harry not catching the snitch, but swallowing it.
Exactly. Now this, as we know, is a breadcrumb and quite a prominent point in the books.
Indeed. Now, Harry then catches the golden snitch and is able to lead Gryffindor to victory, causing them to win 170 points to 60. 170 to 60. Yeah, Gryffindor wins. End of story. Bye. Gryffindor win.
What was the score, AJ?
Don't know. Gryffindor wins the House Cup. Love that for us. Let's go.
I love it when you want it to happen, it doesn't happen.
It never happens. Come on, work. Get salad fingers. I like rusty spoons.
Triddly-dum-de-dum-de-tee. Where are you? Where are you off to, Mrs. Penny Pigtail? I'm off to market to buy some strawberry jam.
Okay. Anyway, so Gryffindor win 170 points to 60.
Yes, they do. And who is more ecstatic than Wood at this point?
McGonagall?
No, it was rhetorical. Rhetorical, AJ, rhetorical.
Not McGonagall, rhetorical. But now that we have settled down from our win of Quidditch, we are going to take a leisurely stroll down to Hagrid's hut, where Hermione and Ron spill the tea. Well, technically Hagrid's spilling the tea, but they then go on to discuss why they think that Professor Snape has tried to kill Harry in such a public fashion. And then Hagrid, in his wisdom, has said, of course it was not Professor Snape. He's a Hogwarts teacher. Hermione, a Hogwarts teacher or not, I know a spell when I see one. You've got to keep eye contact, and Snape wasn't blinking. So Hermione knows everything.
Exactly. She's read up all about jinxes. She knows the tea. She knows what was going on. Mm-hmm. Now, the page she forgot to read was counter curses.
Counter curses. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we've obviously got Hagrid trying to defend Snape, and actually that ends up letting slip of quite a heavily guarded secret.
Yes. He then goes on to say that what the dog is guarding is between Professor Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel.
I shouldn't have said that.
Who is Nicholas Flamel? I hear you ask.
Well, you're just going to have to watch Fantastic Beasts, AJ.
Oh, I've seen it. Twice.
All but 2 times.
All but 2 times. Saying that, I actually think I went to the cinema myself to see that. It was a wonderful time.
Oh, I can imagine.
So with that being said, dearest William, how do you think the book translates to the film?
I personally, so I like aspects of the book. And like we said, actually there's certain bits in the book that I wish had been put into the film. However, the Quidditch scene itself and actually the way they visualised Quidditch absolutely nailed it. Well, I think actually they went over nailing it. Yeah,
it was fab.
What about you?
Oh no, I absolutely loved it. As I say, the only thing I wish that they could have done a little bit better is having Lee Jordan take a bit more of a centre stage role. As in just trying to get that character of him shining through. Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but certainly if you were just to purely watch the films, all you would see is Lee Jordan as being that guy in Gryffindor who is the commentator on Quidditch, and that is it. But you don't realise he is like one of Fred and George's main confidants. You don't really understand that he is sassy. He's good.
Well, he is the leader of the not Wisdom Wireless Network. What is it? The
Potter Watch.
Yeah. Like, he's there hosting the show. Like, he, again, another prominent character who is just kind of swept under the carpet.
Which is an absolute shame.
Because he is stunning.
Nowadays.
Obviously, this is then the books to film. What do you think the TV show is going to bring? Do you think they're going to try something new? What's your kind of main worries, hopes, concerns, aspirations?
Well, I mean, as I say, I sincerely hope that Lee Jordan gets a bit more screen time. I would be very interested to see how they would do this for a TV series, because I don't want them to go heavily in on the CGI. That's the
saying
thing.
That, I really liked, so when we got into the Half-Blood Prince, I really did like the Quidditch scenes in Half-Blood Prince.
You've barely seen them. Saying that, I don't know if it was just because of different directorial styles, as in Half-Blood Prince was very sepia tone. It was very like shine a torch at the screen to watch it. Whereas Philosopher's Stone is very let's throw every colour of the Dulux chart at this screen.
Saturation up to like 100.
And I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
This is the thing, I want like the visualization of like, this is a fast sport. There is this dangerous, this is people like hurt, like getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think when we look at the Philosopher's Stone Quidditch match in the films, it's very much kind of no below the belt, no hockey kind of wax on the shins kind of rules.
Yeah.
Whereas when we get to like later on down the line, especially even when we look at Chamber of Secrets, with the fact that actually there's some foul play going on, like that's more what I'd expect to see. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I kind of hope that they really amp up with the TV show, but like with you, I wouldn't want it to go too heavy on the CGI to the point where it's a completely CGI actor.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea of them reusing things like the Riggs and the Waldos, 100% here for it.
Yeah, but anyway, it should be good. It should be good.
So I think that kind of wraps up quite nicely this entire chapter, because it is a really short chapter. Yeah, it's a short chapter, but by no means a filler chapter. No, I think, well, I would kind of disagree. I think it is a bit of a filler chapter. I think it is. The only important bits is the beginning chapter and the beginning part of the chapter and the end part of the chapter. The rest of it is just a Quidditch match. You don't really get that much in it. Oh, okay. I think if you didn't have the Quidditch game, you wouldn't be losing much out. Fair enough. But it's not to say that it's not a good chapter. I'm definitely not saying that. It's just, it just feels a bit more like a filler chapter. You're not gaining anything by the chapter. So yeah, I think actually, this nicely wraps up the chapter. So we are swiftly moving on to our next episode. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Folio Universitas is going to be exploring Quidditch and broomsticks. It is. So following on from this chapter, we are going to be looking more into all things Quidditch, all things broomsticks and the different styles, different teams, you name it. I'm here for it. So with that in mind, I will say cherry bubbles to yourself. Thank you, AJ. And for you guys listening, thank you so much for listening as always. And keep your radios tuned in for next week's episode, where we'll be talking about broomsticks and Quidditch. So for now, kindest regards. Cherry bubbles. Bye.